You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 38, the Amnesiac Robbers. Howdy. Welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Ed, and 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
How do?
He says salute if you're not watching. He had a cup and he held it up. But they were over $4 at the store today. Yeah, see? So Doug, first of all, Doug is not in the egg industry. So that's good to know because he was majorly insulted just now. So,
right. For y'all listening to the audio, we had been discussing before we started recording the price of eggs in the country. And Doug is one of our listeners who join us live. And he's commenting that, yeah, they're just as expensive wherever he is. So.
Good. Or not good that they're expensive. Good that
right.
I didn't insult you unknowingly. I have done stuff like that before because I don't know enough about my audience. And so I have to turn around and choke down that foot that I place in my mouth. So, yeah.
You know, and the thing is that you can say pretty much you're going to piss somebody off. Regardless of what you say. I remember back in the day, back during the, 2006, 2007 era of podcasting, I used to make jokes on the show back then that, my tiny audience, nobody's listening. I would say stuff like that as a joke. And I got an email that somebody was like really pissed off about that because they felt like I was, denigrating the fact that it's like, hello, I'm listening. So
Terry and I were just talking about the state of it started by talking about Will Smith standing up for his wife and slapping a man that he felt had insulted her. Then we got to talking about comedy, and we got to talking about comedy under the current political pressures that comedians have. And I threw out there, can you imagine what folks today would think about Don Rickles?
Oh my God.
Thank you. Yes.
I love Don Rickles though.
Oh, his humor was pointedly insulting people. That's what his humor was.
He was an insult comic. He was the king of the insult comic.
Yes.
And in fact, I listened to the Conan O'Brien, Conan Needs a Friend podcast. And he had, what is that guy's name? Pete Ross? Is that? There's a more modern day comedian who has pretty much taken that mantle from Don Rickles. Now that Don Rickles has passed on. Okay. And they had a long conversation about Don Rickles, and it was just great how he was just the sweetest man in the world, but how he would just boom, 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 boom. It's like this other guy. I don't remember his name. I want to say it's Pete Ross, but isn't that the dude that lived in Smallville with
yes, I think it was. Clark? Yeah, one of his friends. Yeah.
If there was a Comedy Central roast, this guy was there. He was like front and center, and he talked about how he would always have to. He'd spend days and weeks and hours, coming up with the insults and all that stuff and honing his craft. Whereas he said Don Rickles would just get up there and just be like,
pop it out.
It's
just nothing.
He didn't came to him.
Yeah.
He was
he was a true
special.
master. Yeah, he really was. And fortunately, he came around then because now he would not be able to practice that form of comedy. Yeah. It would not work.
And he apparently was him and Bob Newhart best friends, the best of friends.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Another very, very good comedian for his style of comedy, the deadpan, observational kind of
the stuttering thing that he it's just the uncomfortable stuttering that I adore Bob Newhart. I mean, I really wish that because they have the Bob Newhart show on I think Hulu. And I never really watched that. It's kind of before my time, but Newhart,
right?
I love that show, and you can't find it anywhere.
It doesn't seem to be on. I don't know if there's a rights issue with it or something.
No,
like that.
because it was at one point, like years ago, it was on Netflix. I remember that being like when we first got Netflix streaming, it's like, oh, New Heart's here, and I would watch it, but then it went away and it's never come back.
Okay, I think I'm bantered out. How about you?
Yeah, I don't have a podcast to talk about today. I will say that for the very first time, I listened to an episode of Robservations.
Okay, a recent episode.
Yeah, it was his first episode of the year. He's apparently starting a new series of episodes called what are they? Comic book rivals or something like that. And yeah. This episode was all about John Byrne versus Todd McFarlane, but it was mostly Rob Liefeld pointing out all the times throughout the years how angry that John Byrne is at anybody associated with Image Comics. And I'm probably going to check out another one. I haven't quite decided how I feel about the show yet. He is, to a certain extent, listening to him is kind of like listening to myself, because he just rambles and repeats himself a lot and talks really fast, and he's just all over the place. And even though I do that, I find it annoying when I hear other people do it. So
I think his more interesting podcasts are, funnily enough, when he talks about himself, things that he did, places that he went, and things like that. Not when he talks about his opinion about things. Yeah. His opinion about things pisses me off. Right. Talking about what Rob has done and not boastingly, which he also does, his part in the comic book world. Yep. Those things interest me because he truly has an insider's point of view, which I don't. Yep. I don't need his opinion on other people because I have those and mine are correct and everyone else's is wrong anyways. So, it's like, I don't need that. But Rob, you tell me about what it was like to be 12 years old and the best artist in the world at the time. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. What was it like being in a Levi's commercial or being in a commercial with Todd McFarlane on one side and Stan Lee on the other? That kind of stuff. What was it like when you went to your first San Diego Comic-Con? Because that would have been in the late 80s, stuff like that. Yeah, his opinion stuff. I have listened to his podcast since he started it. And as time has gone on, I find myself listening to a single episode less and less every time one comes out because I just I can't handle where he's going with it. So
and that was the thing about this episode. It was a lot of him reading excerpts from interviews and basically anything that he could find that John Byrne had put on paper or said in an interview in which he had something bad to say, mainly about Todd McFarlane, who apparently John Byrne refers to as the toddler. Right. But along with that, he was boasting quite a bit. There was a lot of really boastful stuff. And there was at one point, I got about halfway through it. And there was at one point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to skip the rest of this. I don't want to. And for some reason, I ended up listening to it. Rob Liefeld is one of those guys that just, whenever I see that he's put a book out, it's like, oh my God, I got to check this out because I was so in love with his stuff when it came out. Yes. And I went to one of his panels at a Chicago convention just before he was talking about his Captain America. It hadn't hit the shelves yet. Okay. And I had seen preview art. And at that point I was kind of falling out of love with him, and it's like, I'm not going to get his Captain America. But that dude is so passionate when he talks about the stuff that he loves that he convinced me to buy that book. And it's not a good book. And but I've got it's like I'm not a Liefeld defender, but I'm also not one of these people that are just quick. Whenever I hear somebody quickly throw out Rob Liefeld doesn't draw feet, I immediately get angry because that boy draws feet all over the damn place. I don't know where that rumor came from. I know that there are a number of covers that he does not show their feet. So what? But yeah, but again, I'm not an apologist, but I'm not like a huge supporter at the same time.
People trash his art now. No, let me rephrase that.
It's the cool thing.
A lot of younger people now trash his art.
They don't understand
that. Well, my defense for that is simple. Back in the day, somebody bought his shit because he sold millions of comic books. So whether it's good or bad or whatever, somebody bought it. That's public record. I mean, there is no questioning that.
There was something about his art at the time when I first came across it in New Mutants, or I think it was New Mutants the first time I read anything from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. It's funny because you look at it now and I can still feel that. I can still feel that, holy crap, this is like something I've never seen before. It's so amazing. And then yet I can also look at it and go, it's really funny with him. But it was
choices. Why did he do that?
Yeah. Because just some of the way he draws certain things. It's like, but yet back then, that's what people who weren't there, they don't get that. They don't understand
that's the problem. It's not taken in context.
Right. And it's not like there weren't artists that were doing different things, because you had like Sienkiewicz back then, and you had
John Byrne you were just talking about.
Yeah. But but even John Byrne, he was still more of a classic house style. He had his own very identifiable John Byrne style, but it was still kind of Sienkiewicz though was like boom, and then for some reason Liefeld was just like, I don't know, his art just was filled with so much energy. It's just like, just like something you've never seen
kinetic,
before.
Very frenetic, and something that you don't hear people really talk about too much with Rob Liefeld is the imagination, the characters that the dude made.
Yeah.
Whether he drew them or not. I mean, he was almost Kirby-esque in the volume of characters he came up with, whether they were good or bad. I'm sorry. All of Kirby's characters were not good either.
Right.
Let's be honest. But he came out with them. He put it together for the first time and put them on paper for the first time, good or bad. And he just did that 5 or 6 or 7 times a month, every month, month after month. And
you could fill up a fleet of buses with all the characters he created. And there's a part of me that's kind of angry about that, because it's like, anytime I'm thinking about a story in which, I want to create a superhero, I'll come up with a name, and it's like, nope, it's already taken.
Done.
Liefeld's taking it.
Yep. Rob did that.
Yeah, I think I've described his writing style basically as he's taken his action figures out and he's playing with them, and that's
exactly
whether or not you like his art, whether or not you like his writing, he loves what he's doing. And
look at
there are a crap ton of people. Yeah, there are a crap ton of people who love his stuff. Doug says in the chat, Doug says, I hear a lot of hate about him too. I'm not a huge fan, but he sold a lot of books, and he really did.
He sure
did. And it's a shame. It's a shame that he no longer has. He doesn't own Youngblood anymore.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That whole thing just breaks my heart.
That was
for him.
a terrible, terrible business move.
Yeah, but
because now, if he did a Youngblood book, it would be a freaking hit.
Heck yeah, I'd be all over it.
Yeah, so would I.
Well, and this Rob Liefeld had Alan Moore writing books for him.
For him.
Come on. Yeah.
Well, think about the other artists that he brought into his side of Image that later went on to do other things as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the two things when it comes to the Image days, the two things that I think that make me the most sad is that Liefeld lost the rights to Youngblood, and that Todd McFarlane doesn't really draw anything anymore, because
he's
at the most he'll ink stuff.
Universe.
Yeah,
he's been drawing a lot.
Has he? Good.
Yeah.
Because I know that when
that's
Robert,
a shame to lose that.
yeah, I know that when Robert Kirkman came around, they did I don't remember the name of the book, but he drew God, I can't remember the name of it. Robert Kirkman, basically he had come to a convention after The Walking Dead blew up. He as an audience member, he was in a panel that Todd McFarlane and some of the Image founders were a part of. And when they did a Q&A, Robert Kirkman raises his hand and he's like, yeah, I just want to know why, Todd, you're not drawing comics anymore. And I feel like it was like a Jim Valentino or a Mark Silvestri that was telling this story. And I guess afterwards, Todd McFarlane was like, who the frick is this guy to tell me that I should be drawing? They're like, he's the guy that's making Image a lot of money right now with those Walking Dead books.
Yeah.
And so they did a book together, and I don't remember. Yeah. They did a book together for a little while, and I don't remember what it was. It might have been. It was something like that. It was,
the character is kind of a Spawny kind of character, but not quite.
Yeah.
I think but
like a black, a gray white type of ghost almost Spawn character. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Alrighty. You want to get to our
let's finish this banter already.
All right.
Let's do this.
Guys. Today we're looking at the Amnesiac Robbers, which appeared in Action Comics number 25, written for us by Jerry Siegel, with art, pencils, and inks by Paul Cassidy. Now, Action Comics 25 has a cover date of June 1940 and an approximate sale date, although I can confirm that it's not approximate because on the Grain Comics database, they say that the date was found in the catalog of copyright entries, part 2, this whole citation here. So it is April 23rd, 1940 is the actual sale date for this issue. Now, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, which is where we got the approximate sale date, this is the synopsis that we found there. Several bank messengers have developed amnesia while delivering funds. No trace of the money is found, and the messengers remember nothing. Clark Kent writes an article on the robberies, which draws public pressure on the police. Clark then learns about a renowned hypnotist, Medini, from Lois Lane. Lois goes to visit Medini, followed by Superman. Interesting reason why Lois went also. She wants to learn, Superman's secret identity from Medini. The crook hypnotizes Lois while Superman sneaks in and takes care of Medini's assistant, who's faking a supernatural voice. Worried that Lois, as a reporter, will expose him, Medini tries to blank Lois's memory. Superman bursts into the room and is weakened by Medini's hypnotic power. Medini escapes with Lois and travels aboard a transport plane carrying gold. He hypnotizes the passengers and crew, forcing it to land where the gold can be removed. Then his assistant flies the plane up and bails out, leaving the plane to crash. Superman, having finally overcome Medini's spell, that hypnotism from earlier, arrives to save the plane, rescue Lois, catch the thieves, and recover the gold. So that last paragraph was like the last, 2 or 3 pages of the book of the story, and that's where the most action happened. That's like the last 20% of the story. The first 80% just kind of chugged, like the roller coaster going up the big incline. You can hear it, ching, 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 ching. And then the downside was the last 20% of the story where all this happened, and the story finally came together. So that of the synopses that we've read, this is a pretty good one for being accurate and telling you pretty much everything that happened.
If there is a synopsis over at Mike's Amazing World of Comics, I'm going to grab that one over what's on DCFandom.com because his are usually better. Yeah.
Succinct, but long enough to really get into and tell you not just the bigger things, but a few of the finer points of the story. So it fleshes out a little bit better.
Yep.
I do have a question. There was a scene where Superman wasn't hanging from a ledge, but he was hanging from the side, but he had a foot on the ledge. So I didn't count that as a hanging because he had his foot on the ledge. So basically he was standing on the ledge and was just holding himself up using his hands on the side sill. Yeah, that's it. So, almost, but not quite. He was kind of hanging on, but not hanging.
But he was listening at the window, so.
That's always. He's got super hearing, and he can do it from at least several buildings away. But that's not what he does. He always goes right outside the window.
Yeah, I was kind of torn on this story because, on the one hand, I really like the idea that Superman really has kind of come up against somebody that can affect him in some way. The guy just immediately with his hypnosis, and Superman's stumbling around and he's dizzy and he's knocking trees over and stuff like that. So it's like they finally, here is a character that can hurt Superman if he really wanted to. I think if this guy wasn't more interested in just getting the crap out of there, he could have caused some issues for Superman. On the flip side, though, I mean, here's like, this is like our first person of color in showing up in these books, and he's not American, and he's got a turban on, and he's shooting hypnosis like a swami, and he's got all these white guys working for him, but they're also wearing turbans, and obviously a product of its times.
Yes, and I think, particularly in this case, there certainly was no slight intended in reflecting this particular ethnicity that way.
Right.
A lot of people, particularly a lot of white people, at this time, that may well have been all they knew about people from, I would assume, the subcontinent of India.
I don't think that this was. I didn't look at this as, here is Jerry Siegel making a person of color look bad because
lesser in any way. Right.
This was just more of a kind of a stereotypical white man from the 40s outlook toward a person of color, and that's it's not great, but it comes from a place of ignorance, not a place of hate,
Right. And to be honest, all stereotypes are based in reality. They typically, now it may be a very specific reflection of a people, but typically the stereotype does accurately reflect something about that people. Hardly ever is it the only thing about that people, of course. But, the way they dress, the way they act, what they eat, all of those are based in fact for a particular reason. Now, the reason is never expressed, and I think that's where the stereotype breaks down. Is this is what is going on, and you never learn why. So some of it, yes. Over the last few years, I've run across stuff where I've learned that certain stereotypes that were actually, I don't want to say fabricated, but they were put in place to, by the white man to the one that's springing to mind, and I don't remember what the stereotype was, but I remember reading a whole article about it, and it was basically kind of put out there so that black farmers wouldn't get a lot of business, basically.
Okay. People would choose the white farmers getting their produce over the black farmers. And so a lot of that was happening, especially in with the Native Americans in the Old West, and a lot of crap that would be done there. But we do not have and I don't know any country that does. We don't have a great past when it comes to a lot of that stuff. No.
I
think I remember the one thing I think I'm always going to remember is I think it was Barack Obama who said, "Yeah, things are pretty bad right now, but they're not as bad as they used to be, and every generation gets a little bit better." It feels like, yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but that's still 1 step forward.
Right.
I think he said something like that, and I was like, I like that.
And it's certainly not meant as a justification for how bad things
Right.
are.
Yup. Yes.
Things could always be worse is a terrible justification.
Right. That's right. That's true.
But the honest observation that things used to be or things have been worse in the past, that's a whole different thing, because that is true. So,
right.
I every time I see stories, particularly about the way we treated the Native Americans, I apologize if even Native American is not the first peoples of North America. I'll just put it that way. We did them some shit. There's just no two ways about it. That it just flat out,
Oh yeah.
So,
and I think when he said that about the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it was spoken more of a like a message of hope for people who might be there were young folk, young folk out there nowadays who are like, oh, what's the point? It's so bad. There's nothing I can do to fix it. And he was like, yes, but things are getting better. It's, each generation, it gets a little bit better. And
for your kids and for the kids.
Are we going to see sweeping changes in our lifetime? No, but I hope that my children's children, gets better and better and better.
The amount of change is sweeping when you look at 5 and 6 and 7 generations at a time. If you take a bigger snapshot, huge changes in
over the last
just
100
to be honest,
years.
In the power that the white man has over people.
Yeah.
That has changed tremendously in the last 100 years. In the last 5 years, probably not so much. But so if we keep taking 100-year snapshots, which I understand is a very, very long time, and there are a lot of things that need to change a lot faster than in 100 years, for sure. But it's happening. It's changing. It's getting somewhere. Maybe it's not getting there yet, but it's getting somewhere. So, okay. What else about the story here?
There were a couple of moments that stood out to me. Let me see if I can kind of find them real quick. I like Superman hanging the guys on the wrought iron fence.
On the fence,
that was kind of fun. The dude who tries to beat up Superman with the wrench, and they don't show you all of it, but they really give you the feeling that he just was wailing on Superman with this wrench, and Superman's just smiling, and the guy just basically tires himself out from beating Superman with a heavy metal wrench, as it says. And then the last one he hits him with bounces back and hits him on his chin and knocks him out. That was awesome. Yeah. Now he knocks himself out. The only other thing that really stood out for me was, so Superman is under the effects of this hypnosis, and he's, they got him walking around in the city, and he's running into trees and knocking trees over and stuff. And the way he clears his head is to jump super high into the atmosphere and then come back down, and that clears his head. He's like, all right, I feel better.
Well, it's the same as splashing cold water on your face, man, to sober up. He just did it with like cold atmosphere by jumping way up high in the sky.
Yep. It made me think of the first Avengers movie with Hawkeye, who gets his mind control from Loki, and then Black Widow just knocks his head against a railing, and boom, it's out of him.
Straightens him out. Yeah.
Yep. That's not a good lesson to teach children.
Well, yeah, as far as how to handle it, somebody's not acting right, just pound their head in the wall. They'll straighten up.
Yep.
And actually, I don't know. I won't speak for you, but I probably do know that from experience, from where I've tried to do that to somebody and it didn't work. So I know that that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. On the panel where he is rescuing the plane. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He catches the plane by the tail, which is okay. But we have to remember, okay, Superman still cannot fly. So he jumped and he saw the plane falling and he steered himself to the plane. Okay. He grabs a hold of the plane. Okay, I'm there. But Superman is falling just as fast and just as hard as the plane. So how does that save the plane when both of them would have just crashed right into the earth? I mean, there's no, but the panel shows him landing softly with the pizza plane in his hand, and I'm like,
it's like there was an issue
that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like the issue a while back where the guy was falling from the building and Superman's on the ground and he catches him in his arms and it's like, there, all better. And they even today, people still do crap like that. You fall out of a plane. Oh, there's water below me. I'll be fine because it's water. Yeah. If you've ever done a belly flop, water's not good sometimes.
Like it doesn't like that.
I totally forgot about that, but that was the one thing my eyes just did like a super roll when I got to that part.
Yeah, it's like
he literally because he's holding the plane as they land, he's somehow able to cushion it from, despite the fact that they're probably falling at like thousands of miles per hour.
Exactly. Just the panel before. I mean,
Yep. You had said in a previous episode, the mathematical formula of when you're falling, how quickly you accelerate. And
but the plane was thousands of feet in the air, so it's moving.
And then, all right, so let's just look at that moment. Okay, so it's an 8-panel page.
Mm-hmm.
Panel 1, he's leaping across the sky, and he sees the plane. Panel 2, he's grabbed the tail, and then panel 3, he's on the ground. He's caught him. Panel 4, he's holding Lois, who's unconscious. The bad guys come around a bend in the hill, and they come after him, kill him, shoot him, and then the very next panel, he's throwing the airplane at him. So so funny, just such the dumb. And then of course we get this moment, one of those moments right at the very end where Clark's like, he goes, "There you are, Chief, the answer to your prayers," and he hands him the article, and which is funny because, all right, so there's a moment, I totally forgot about this too. There's a moment at the beginning of the story because we have these, like the bank messenger who didn't deliver the $50,000 to the bank, and he can't remember why. The drivers of the armored car who don't remember who they are, and all the money's gone. And the mayor and the chief of police, they're having this secret meeting. They don't want it to get out to the media, but of course Clark, he's outside and he can hear what they're talking about. So he goes back to work and he says, "Here it is, Taylor, the type of yarn you daydream about, a front page sensation." And the editor's response to him is, "Yeah, what kind of tripe are you handing me now?" This is the guy that practically every issue ends with that editor going, "You did it again, Clark. That's a great article." And yet you just can't win with that guy, apparently. So
it's not tripe at the end of every issue, every story.
It's like, oh, here he is with another story that's going to suck. And then, oh, well, that didn't suck.
Plus,
and I think
really a good. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, he actually calls George Taylor. He calls him Taylor, and normally he calls him Chief. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Was it actually good that Clark turned in that story?
I thought about that as well.
Yeah.
because there's an argument to be made there. Here's for those of you who have seen Die Hard 2. Think about the reporter from Die Hard 1. He's in the plane. He uncovers all the evidence about the terrorists. And the first thing he does is he goes on air to communicate this to everybody, because that is the responsibility of the news media, to report the news. And yet, because of it, it causes a huge panic in the airport, and people are running over each other and breaking crap, and as they're trying to escape. And so, yeah, you shouldn't always report. You don't have it's. Yeah, it probably wasn't great that he wrote that article and put that out there.
I ran across in contemporary Christian teachings a woman who goes around talking and teaching. And from her, the one quote that I always remember from her is, just because it's permissible doesn't mean it's beneficial.
Yep.
And I think that's, and all of us here on the outside, we don't have that job. But that, I think, is as important a job of the media as any of the other jobs people say or they feel that they have. You have to understand the consequences of what you're doing in that position.
I think we need the media. I think there have been many occasions in which your average American citizen wouldn't know what's going on, right. Watergate, crap like that, if it wasn't for the media doing their, uncovering that truth. But the media has changed quite a bit over the last 30, 40 years, ever since the advent of cable news and the 24-hour news cycle, and how you have to have something extraordinary to report on every single minute of the day.
Right.
There's too many people within the news media that they come across a story and they don't think to themselves, should I release this at this time? Because yes, it should be released, but should it be released at this time? It doesn't matter, because all of our news agencies, from the newspapers to the radios to the television studios, they're all owned by corporations, and they want the money. And so you put that stuff out there, the advertisers come, you make the money.
Plus, too, when you find out, you have to tell it, because if you don't, dude over here will.
Right, exactly. And then, yep.
So as soon as you find out, you've got to say so.
Yeah. So it's not even always they don't have any scruples. It's like at the same time they got this pressure of, if I want to stay in this business, I have to. Yeah, it's nothing. That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people, I hear a lot of people talk about it, and a lot of people ignore it. Not everything is cut and dry.
No,
there are many facets to every story.
Yeah.
And it's not just as simple as bad, good. Some things are, but not everything.
Looking at my notes, I think that's about all that really stood out to me for this one.
Lois was kind of funny in this one. Very dismissive of Clark. She was really happy to go. She's going to go find out Superman's identity. He's kind of bragging about the article that he just wrote, about the Amnesiac robbers and whatnot. And she's like, well, I'm going to go get Superman's identity, and it's going to make your stupid little story look like crap. And again, by the end of it, Clark Kent has come out on top.
Yet again.
It's just
because he's Clark Kent. He's Superman.
Yeah, exactly. And we have the one panel at the end where it's the mayor's office, and I'm not sure who he's talking to, but there's that moment where Clark's like, to listen to them, you wouldn't guess it was my story that broke the case. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Lois has to point out, I think it was mainly Superman.
Well, yes, but we know it's the same person, but okay.
That's right. That's right. Are these two ever going to get together? That's the question I have. When are these
I
two
don't
going to
know,
get
man.
together?
At this point, you would have to say no. It's not going to happen. It's not like they're
Yeah.
ever going to get married or have kids or none of that.
Yeah,
Ever.
at least
Ever.
not for 50 years.
Yeah, really. It's going to take a long time for her to warm up.
Yep.
She is not like in the Clarkmeister at all. And nothing he does changes that at all.
Right. But I think final words on this issue. I did like the fact that they have now introduced something into the Superman universe that does have an effect on him. And are we going to see
the dude again?
Yeah. Are they going to do it again? Are we going to, is back, right. The modern age Superman has always been, there's only really two things that harm him: kryptonite and magic. So we may be seeing Golden Age Superman's first Achilles heel, hypnotism.
But that's not magic. I mean, hypnotism is a real thing. It's,
right.
So
it is, but at the same time, this guy literally just goes and you're hypnotized.
it could appear as magic.
Yeah.
Certainly.
But
if you're just watching it
right. I'm just saying that at this point in the Golden Age, there's really nothing that has stopped Superman.
Right.
And are we seeing his first vulnerability? And like kryptonite, are we going to see it come back a lot? I don't know.
Could be.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll just have to keep reading.
Next,
we're only up to 25 issues of action and 4 issues of his book.
I know, right? Yeah. Next week we'll be looking at I don't know. I'm assuming there's 4 stories in this issue of Superman number 5.
Yeah, I didn't take a look yet, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know that as of issue 4, all the stories that are in Superman, I think going forward from issue number 4 on are new stories. They're not reprinted from the newspaper, but I may be wrong.
Now, next recording, are we doing issue 5?
Oh, that's
Superman,
right.
Or are we doing feedback?
We're doing a feedback episode. We have been neglecting the feedback. We actually got we've gotten 2 emails over the last week.
Wow. Okay.
From people that, not folks that we normally talk to on Twitter or on the forum or stuff. Just as far as I know, just, listeners that have decided to both reach out to us. I forwarded you one. I'll forward you the other one. But when I got the second email, I was like, we haven't done a feedback episode in a while. And as I started going through Twitter and the forum, it's like, oh, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of feedback. So
and that may even turn out to be, we'll have to break that up into more than one episode, maybe.
That's so for those who like to join us live, like Doug. Again, we're just doing the one episode tonight, but we will get back together next week on Tuesday, same Superman time, same Superman channel. And we'll start with the feedback, and we'll see how far how long that takes. And we'll decide at some, that's the way we do things. We wing it. And I edit all that out so it looks like we've got a plan when you just listen to the episodes.
But we have no plan.
Yeah. If you only listen to these episodes and you're not watching the live show, then you probably assume we're just consummate professionals who always say the right thing at the right time.
No, that's not. Yeah,
it's the magic of editing.
It's not how it happens.
And I do enjoy. Peter Rios was talking on I think his last Daily Rios episode. Somebody on Twitter had brought up the idea of standing while you're podcasting. And so he talked about how he's tried that before. And he was talking about how he always tends to get kind of gassy, and he burps a lot when he podcasts. He goes, there's a lot of editing that I do to take all that out. And it's good to know that even the Rios does a lot of editing because yeah, otherwise, again, I know how these things are made, but yet I listen to like his show and I'm like, damn, that man just sits down and he hits record and he just talks and he just knows. And it's all the magic of editing.
Yep. Yeah. His hour and a half that we listen to is like 4.5 hours, so.
Right. That's usually everything that every podcast I do. It's like, once I take all the crap out, it's half of what it used to be. And speaking of which, I want to say real quick, I have started posting episodes of Event or Else. I have officially recorded the rest of the Crisis on Infinite Earths episodes. They're ready to go. You got one yesterday or last week. You're getting one tomorrow for issue 10. You're going to get issue 11, issue 12, each week after that. And then I got together with Peter Rios and we did, because I had a lot of questions about the Crisis. And so I invited him on and I asked him a bunch of questions. And so it's kind of a wrap up of Crisis. So everybody's going to get a bonus episode. Okay. And then we'll get into Secret Wars 2.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough.
Yeah. All right. He's really excited about that. He said because kind of the point of Event or Else is to see if you can read just the core, just the book, just the issues from the event, none of the tie-ins. And are you going to get the full story? And I don't remember that you can get the full story in Secret Wars 2.
Not 2 from I don't think so. Yeah.
I read the first issue last year and I remember reading that going, what is going on? It's just like stuff that just comes out of nowhere. Just right. They're taking stories from other issues. I think Jim Shooter tried really hard to do what they did with Crisis to get this whole tie-in thing, and it just didn't.
Right. No, he didn't go about it the same way.
Doug says on the chat, "Oh man, Secret Wars 2 was something. Was there even a story?"
Yeah. Yes, there was a story. It was in there. It wasn't a very good one. And then you add all that other stuff, and it got even less good. So yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing how those episodes turn out.
For me, the best part of Secret Wars 2 is that's where we got Jubilee from.
Really? Wow. I don't remember that at all.
I
got some.
I probably should go back and make sure, but I believe that was her first appearance was in Secret Wars 2.
I haven't read Secret Wars 2 except for that first issue last year since it came out. So I don't remember a lot. All I remember from Secret Wars 2 is that the Beyonder at some point looks like David Hasselhoff.
Yes, the Hoff. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see quickly. Nope. Excuse me. I don't see it quickly here. But I seem to recall that she her first appearance was in Secret Wars 2, but maybe not. Right. We'll find out as you go through it. Okay, are we good?
We're good.
So we will thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. And so until next week, I'm Ed. That's Steven, and this was the Superman Super Show. Ciao.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Superman Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to the Superman Super Show at gmail.com. You can follow the show on Twitter under the handle @SoupsSuperShow. That's @SUPS Super Show. And continue the conversation at the Super Show Forum at forums.justanotherfanboy.com. We also encourage you to rate the show wherever available and share this podcast with a friend. All links will be in the show notes.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.